Well, we're going to get a little report on the economic status of our community, and who better to do that than Joe Sobieralski, the CEO and president of Battle Creek Unlimited. Joe, it's nice to see you again.
Good to see you. Always a pleasure to be here.
I saw your name in the news as appearing before the city commission to give basically a 6-month update on what BCU's been doing and the economic status of our community as far as BCU goes. And then, of course, you've also got a 5-year plan you're kind of unveiling too. So we got a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
What did you tell the commissioners?
Well, you're right. We get in front of the commission about every 6 months and give them an update on things that we've been working on, announcements, all of that good stuff. But this time around, we gave them a whole year's worth because our fiscal year runs July 1 to June 30. So we kind of gave a whole encapsulation of the year. But we talked about some of the announcements over the year. Prairie Farms, $28 million, 60 jobs. Duncan Aviation, $2.9 million, 50 jobs. Bowers Aluminum, Phase 1, almost $5 million. Total 3 phases, approximately 19 million with 94 jobs. Of course, we talk about New Holland looking to invest probably north of $2 million and bring 50 jobs. We've got our Restore 269 folks, along with an additional brewer that's
the mystery brewery.
Yeah. The $1.2 million investment with approximately 10 to 15 jobs associated with it. So we talked about all those things, and we touched on some other points too, such as, the KCC, RMTC getting a multi-million-dollar upgrade to help continue to train our workforce. Janesville Acoustic made an announcement that they were shuttering a facility in Indiana. In all likelihood, some of those jobs would translate to Battle Creek, 79 jobs. So we really talked about all of those things, and then we talked about where we're going in the future.
And we'll do that. It's great. We hear these little nuggets of good news like that, and they just get some momentum going.
Yeah.
And then, I hate to even mention this, but, that stupid website putting that negative thing out about Battle Creek being the second worst place in the nation to raise a kid. It's just complete bull crap, and everybody here knows it. But it's not what we need right now. And
no.
I kind of liken this to the Detroit Tigers a few years ago. They were a terrible team. They were the worst team ever. And all of a sudden, they signed the second baseman, Fernando Vina, from the St. Louis Cardinals as a free agent.
Okay.
They hadn't signed a free agent in I don't know how long. And they signed the guy. And then all of a sudden, another guy, like I think it was Ivan Pudge Rodriguez, said, "Hey, I know that guy. I like him. All right, I'll sign with you guys too." And then Maglio Ordonez signs, and then they make a couple more deals, and it's like one leads to the other. It's kind of like that cartoon where the rootin' tootin' chicken hawk just keeps upgrading, and gets momentum going, and that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and you're absolutely right. That article was absolutely false. It was cherry picking statistics to make the worst case possible, and we all know in this community that we have great assets, and it is a great place to raise a family. Now we do have our share of issues that we're all working on, and but it's nothing out of the ordinary that any other community doesn't have. But it's a great community.
You find the most negative person in this town, and you ask them, do you think this is the second most dangerous place to raise a kid? And even the most negative Eeyore in this town will say, well, no, that's ridiculous.
No.
I mean, there's Flint, there's Benton Harbor, there's Cleveland, there's Chicago, there's Detroit. Yeah. All these places would be less desirable to raise a kid.
Correct.
For heaven's sakes. I just want to grab those guys.
We have world-class assets for a town of this size that some of those towns that you mentioned that are larger would dream to have. It's a wonderful community.
Absolutely. So there's a 5-year plan.
Yeah. So, and I kind of want to go back to that point too. I just rattled off a handful of announcements that have been announced over the last year that equate to 215 jobs. If you add Janesville in there, you're almost getting to 300. That's quite a bit of activity in a year. Now, we know those come in spurts, so sometimes there's some lulls and some activity, but that's quite an accomplishment and quite a lot of activity going on in a pretty vibrant community. And I'll tease you a little bit too. We got another announcement coming in about 2 or 3 weeks, but I can't divulge here.
And we're gonna have to like waterboard you so we can find out these things like the mystery brewery and all that.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Another 2 to 3 weeks. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put that in my calendar.
All right.
That sounds good. Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that.
But yeah, we Battle Creek Unlimited on August 8th. Our board of directors adopted a new 5-year strategic plan. And it really spells out what Battle Creek Unlimited is going to do for the next 5 years. There's mention in there in the document that we're not only going to focus on the Fort Custer Industrial Park, we're going to focus on some key vibrancy things in our town, such as downtown. And we're going to partner with the folks at downtown. We're going to deploy our resources in other ways because the work we do in the fort is really dependent on the vibrancy of a downtown, corridors, quality of life issues. We're hearing that every day from our companies, and especially when you want to go out and attract new. It has really risen to the top. Talent and quality of life have risen to the top of the stack in the economic development equation. So we've laid out a plan that allows us to, jump in as necessary to push some things forward on those fronts. And then we've got 5 growth sectors. Some of them they may sound familiar, but we're going after the new technologies within those growth sectors. So we're going to build on our legacy of some of the industries we already have, but go to industry 2.0, if you will, or 4.0, or whatever you want to call it. But automotive OEM supply chain, aviation defense, food and beverage, energy storage is a new one. And we've branded, and I would love to share this with you, Battery City, BC, Battle Creek, Battery City. We feel like we have all of the key pieces here in this town to grow the energy storage sector that's coming, especially with the automotive industry. A lot of the companies, all of the big ones, are committing to a percentage of their fleet being EV by as soon as 2023. So that is an industry that's coming, and we're working to position ourselves to capture that. And we've got a few pieces here already, so we want to grow on that. And then logistics services. But if you take aviation and defense and logistics services, there's kind of a crossover there. We also want to go after the UAV market, UAV being drones. We think there's an opportunity here for us. So we're playing off of our historic bread and butter, but we're going to 2.0, 4.0 within those sectors.
Well, and obviously, too, our National Guard base sort of repurposed or their mission changed several years ago, more along the lines of drone technology and
Yes.
that sort of stuff. So we've already kind of got that here, and we've got the president talking about Space Force, and we've got our fingers crossed that we might get a missile defense base or whatever that ends up being,
Yes.
Awarded to Battle Creek. I don't suppose there's any talk about that or any news. Or
It's still the multi-billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
Everybody is still wondering when it's going to be announced. I know a senator from Massachusetts just the other day sent a letter to Mattis, demanding, hey, we've been sitting on this for forever. When is there going to be an announcement of the missile defense? So there are people not only in Battle Creek but all over the country wanting to know about this.
Maybe we can get a hold of some stationery from the place in Massachusetts and forge a letter that says, "Dear Mr. Mattis, you're ugly and stupid," and sign the people of Springfield or whatever it is, Massachusetts. Probably wouldn't work. But yeah, it sounds to me a little bit like you talk to these investment brokers and they always tell you diversify your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it sounds like BCU and a lot of the people in Battle Creek are trying to do just that in terms of our economy and our workforce. Try to diversify that because we all know what happens if you've got all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Things change.
Well, and one of the things, when we talk about automotive and OEM supply chain, we're very automotive centric out in the fort, but the automotive industry is at an inflection point right now. When you when you bring in an electric vehicle and autonomous vehicles, that changes a lot of the parts and components within the makeup of a car. So if you're somebody that's making a transmission, your business model is really going to change. So that's why we're really focusing on going to that 2.0 and building off of some of the legacy we already have here.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I have an older car. It doesn't have too many bells and whistles. And I just marvel when I ride in a car with somebody who's got a brand new one. It's like, wait a minute, this is like the Jetsons almost, you know. And so it is changing fast, and more technology coming in. And I got to believe too that our technology, as far as energy storage and batteries, it's gonna improve. We're gonna have a few more breakthroughs pretty soon. That's gonna make it even more of a big deal.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Joe Sobieralski of Battle Creek Unlimited is with us right now. I wanted to ask you about this $10 million small business loan fund that was announced a couple of months back. What's the status of that? Is it being used so far, and are people applying?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been in communication on a regular basis with the folks from Northern Initiatives, and they, from the get-go, were inundated with just inquiries. I think they got 30 inquiries. They've got 4 that are kind of what they call almost to active loan status. I think one of those recently was closed, was the new Burmese restaurant. They played a part in that.
Oh, Shui Mandalay.
Yeah.
Nico and I ate lunch there yesterday, and it was really great.
And so they told me, you know, to put it into perspective, they did the same thing in Grand Rapids, and over the same period of time, we by far blew the Grand Rapids market out of the water as far as activity, inquiries looking for loans. So they've got, I think they're close to about $500,000 of loan commitments, with only one of them being announced thus far. And they're looking to move 7 out of that 30 into kind of next phase of vetting for loan status. So it's been a great tool that's been provided by the Kellogg Foundation, and people are excited and they're utilizing it.
Yep. The Kellogg company stepped up, and also some other companies in the area, and I think there might even be room for more to step up. And
absolutely,
and because it's a matching fund kind of deal, and originally I think we were about 2/3 of the way there. I like that. I like that idea, and another thing too is the BC Cargo downtown.
Yeah.
You know, those cargo places at the corner of, what is it? Well, next to Full Blast.
Correct.
And the post office. You know, I went down there yesterday and had a cup of coffee and looked around a little bit. All of these places, you know, if they can get a foothold and get established, you know, then they could maybe move into a brick and mortar location, and we've got some of those that we'd like to get viable businesses into.
Absolutely, and we kind of talk about that in our strategic plan, not very directly, but, you know, revitalizing those brick and mortar stores for those folks to have a permanent home in.
Yeah.
Some of them need a lot of work, and I know you and I have talked about that on the show here in the past.
We have, and of course the Heritage Tower is, you know. It's
all right, the Heritage Tower is, it's 3rd down, 15 seconds left to go in the game. It's 3rd down and inches to the goal line.
Yeah.
That's my analogy.
So
we got to punch it in.
We're close to turning the corner on that.
I believe so.
Yeah. I know there have been some setbacks in an old building like that. Things happen. But they're talking about putting some covered walkways down on the street so they can safely work up above there without stuff crashing down on people's skulls.
Construction trailer is rolled in.
Yeah.
There's some fencing going up. But, yeah.
Well, good positive news, and we'll look forward to hearing the next. I can't wait to hear about the next big announcement in 2 or 3 weeks. We'll be pestering you about that, Joe.
So we'll have to come back sooner rather than later when we talk about that in Heritage Tower. Maybe we'll have some good news there.
All right. Very good. Joe Sobieralski, CEO and President of Battle Creek Unlimited.